And we are back after a mixed week of European action for the Premier League clubs with 4 wins, a draw and 3 defeats. We return to the Premier League itself for the weekend. And before we get into today's video, I just want to say a massive thank you once again because we hit 750 subscribers this week, which means we've had over 50 new subscribers in the space of 1 week. So thank you very much for all your support. And it obviously means we are now over the 3-quarter mark for my target of this year, which is to reach 1,000 subscribers. So if you are already subscribed, thank you so much. And if you haven't already, please do consider hitting that subscribe button and drop a like while you're in that area of the YouTube page as well, because we've been getting a lot of likes on these videos recently as well. And as always, thank you for all your incredible support. It's going to be another massive weekend of a Premier League action, so let's not beat around the bush anymore. Let's get straight in to Game Week 6's predictions. And we start off straight away with a 3 o'clock kickoff. For whatever reason, Burnley against Manchester United is being played at 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. If you know why, please let me know down in the comments, because I actually don't know why. But that means we start off at Crystal Palace against Fulham in the first 3 o'clock kickoff of the day. Crystal Palace, who I really thought were unlucky last week in the game against Aston Villa. I think the penalty that was given was very, very harsh, and I think Crystal Palace were robbed of a result because of it. Fulham were not particularly good against Luton, arguably should have lost to Luton Town at home last weekend. So with those two things said, with Crystal Palace back at home, the way they've started this season, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Crystal Palace. Now we move on to Luton as they take on Wolves at Kenilworth Road. And as I said in my fantasy football video yesterday, if it's not going to happen for Luton in the next 2 weeks, it's just not going to happen for them at all. Like I say, they were unlucky not to get the result against Fulham last weekend. So now at home with the crowd behind them against a team like Wolves who, to be fair, Wolves have been playing some fantastic football so far this season, but just haven't been putting the ball in the net enough and have then been leaking goals at the other end. So this is the perfect opportunity for Luton to get a result. As a partial Luton fan, as we see Dave with his hat on ready for me to give this prediction, I'm going to go for 2-1 to Luton because, like I say, if it's not going to happen now, it's just never going to happen. Next up, it is Manchester City taking on Nottingham Forest in a game where I don't think this is as clean-cut as people might think it is. Nottingham Forest have made a fantastic start to the season. I think their new signings have really embedded themselves well into the team. They're starting to play a lot better football than I think many people expected. Whereas Manchester City have, of course, been steamrolling teams left, right and centre, winning every single game, but probably not reaching the standards you'd expect. It's just they've not really come up against any serious opposition yet. So it'd be interesting to see where this one goes. I'm going to give Nottingham Forest a goal, but unfortunately, just again, due to the sheer firepower that Manchester City have, I am going to give them the 4-1 win. So maybe it was so clean-cut after all. But we shall see. I can definitely see Forest causing some problems tomorrow. In the evening game, or the first evening game, it is Brentford against Everton. Two sides that really need to start picking up more points. Brentford have done okay, but haven't really quite got the results to back up the performances. And Everton, quite frankly, have just not been good enough yet. Defensively, they look decent against Arsenal, but they always look decent against Arsenal defensively. And then they still conceded and this time lost, whereas the last few seasons they've got results. Whereas, like I say, Brentford have been scoring goals, but haven't quite got it right defensively yet and have lost Rico Henry. However, like I say, Everton really haven't started well and their away record is absolutely rancid. So I'm going to go for 3-0 to Brentford. I'm going to back Brentford to carry on their free scoring style of play, and I'm going to back Everton to continue their lack of goal scoring in front of the net. On to the second evening game then, the 8 o'clock kickoff, the moved 12:30 kickoff. It is Burnley against my club, Manchester United, and we stare down the prospect of 4 defeats in a row in this one, and what worries me the most is that once again the midfield seems to be our weakest part of our team at the moment, and Burnley's whole thing is passing through midfield. So it's a bit of a worry. It looks like we could have some players back, potentially Varane, potentially Mount, potentially Mainu. We may change some of the starting lineup players again. I thought McTominay made a difference against Bayern the other night, so we'll see. I have to look at this game and go, on paper, we have to beat Burnley. So with that said, I'm going for 2-1 Man United. But that is a very, very cautious 2-1 to Manchester United, as it was a very, very cautious 2-2 draw that I went for against Brighton last week. Do not back Manchester United if you're not confident this weekend. I'm certainly not that confident. I just have to believe that my club is going to win this game. On to Sunday, and we start off with what I think should be the main event game of the weekend. Why it's being played at 2 instead of 4:30, I don't really know. But it is Arsenal taking on Tottenham in the North London derby. And this is the game that I've actually spent the most time deliberating over because I genuinely think someone's getting smashed in this game. I think there is going to be a rude awakening for one of these two teams. I think both of them are on a little bit of a false high at the moment. Yes, Arsenal were fantastic against PSV, but PSV aren't the team they were 5 or 6 years ago. And obviously Tottenham have made a fantastic start to the season. 3 scoring goals against Burnley. They got that 98th, 101st minute comeback win at home to Sheffield United at the weekend. Ange Ball forever and blah-de-blah-de-blah. I think someone's getting smashed this weekend. And the most likely smashing would be Arsenal to smash Spurs. So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for 4-2. I think both teams are going to score. I think both sides are too good offensively not to score goals in this game, although I just worry for Spurs' defence a little bit more than I worry for Arsenal. So I'm going to go for 4-2 to Arsenal. I genuinely think it could be more. You could see something like a 5-3 or a 5-4 or a throwback to that classic 4-4 draw we had a few years ago, or the 3-2 Spurs that we had at the Emirates a few years ago. Something like that. I can see any of those things happening. I think it's going to be an incredibly high-scoring game. It's probably going to be the most entertaining game of the weekend. But I think it's going to be Arsenal that come out on top. We have a whole host of other 2 o'clock kickoffs on Sunday due to European commitments. Obviously, Brighton, Aston Villa and Liverpool and West Ham all played in Europa games last night. Brighton will be looking to bounce back from that disappointing home defeat to AFK Athens, which no one saw coming, really, including myself if you watch yesterday's predictions. I think against Bournemouth, though, despite how well Bournemouth have started this season, I think Brighton at home are too strong a team in the Premier League. So I'm going to go for 3-1 to Brighton. I think they made too many changes to their regular starting lineup last night. And I think with the usuals back in the 11 for the weekend, I would expect Brighton to get the job done. Next up, it is Chelsea and Aston Villa. Chelsea in desperate need of a result. Aston Villa, off the back of some semi-decent performances, then losing last night to Legia Warsaw. Again, it kind of throws this fixture into a bit of a mess. And also, question marks as to who's going to play up front for Aston Villa. I really like this Duran kid. The goal he scored last weekend, he scored again last night. Is Watkins going to keep his place in the starting lineup? Is he going to play 2 up front? Who knows? I can't really split these two right now. And as you know, when I can't split 2 teams, I go for a 1-1 draw. And yeah, I think all 3 results are possible here. It just kind of depends on which side turns up on the day. Then we have Liverpool and West Ham, a game that I would have really liked to have seen televised, but I don't think anyone expected West Ham to have quite the start that they have had. So fair play to them for upsetting the TV writers because they've not picked this fixture either. Liverpool, of course, have played some relatively decent football. I don't think they're quite at it just yet. They're obviously not going to have Van Dijk available for this one due to his suspension. And that's a prime opportunity for West Ham to capitalise in their set-piece areas. As we all know, that is their strength. And with James Ward-Prowse on the side, and with the likes of Zuma and that playing as well as they are, could be some real opportunities on set-pieces for West Ham to grab a couple of goals against Liverpool this weekend. However, I still think Liverpool are just that little bit too strong. I think they've just got far too much attacking power. We saw how West Ham handled Manchester City last week. They gave them a hell of a go, and it wasn't quite enough. And I'm going to go for the same this weekend. However, I'm not going to go for 3-1. I'm going to go for 3-2. Just to be a little bit different. And then finally, in the main event slot of the weekend, possibly disrespectfully from my own perspective, it's Sheffield United against Newcastle in a game that I think is probably going to be quite boring, to be honest. These are 2 sides that really set out their defensive stalls very, very well. If you did see part of the Tottenham game, obviously you know how well Sheffield United do defend, and the Manchester City game earlier on this season. When Sheffield dig in, they are really, really, really hard to break down. The problem is, on every single occasion so far this season, they have broken down. And with Newcastle normally so solidly defensively themselves, I don't think Sheffield United are really going to be able to do any serious damage to Newcastle. And if Sheffield United are breached again, then that will mean the result will be 1-0 to Newcastle. So that is what I'm going to be going for in this game. That will be it for today's predictions. As always, let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments section. I think it's going to be a very fun weekend once again. I'll be back for my reaction to the Burnley-Manchester United game, and then I'm going to be attempting to do some EFL Cup predictions next week, during next week. So pray for me when it comes to doing those. Thank you very much for watching as always. I will see you very, very soon.